listening to Real Coaching Radio TV, building a positive network.
Are you in the entertainment industry? If you answered yes and you want to promote yourself, your passion, and profession, check out Creative Independent Artist magazines at CIAartists.com, endorsed by Kids Talk Foundation worldwide. Today's podcast is brought to you by Kids Talk Foundation, a global nonprofit organization providing youth advocacy, television programming, and training services in the United States, along with comprehensive medical and educational services for the developing world, most recently in Kenya, Africa, where Kids Talk Foundation provides a feeding program, medical care, and educational services to over 1,300 young people each day. Please help our youth and place your donation. Go to www.kidstalk.org.
Welcome to the Mind, Body, and Soul Show on Real Coaching Radio Network. How would you like to attempt to demystify with us the realms of the mind, body, and soul to bring you a more holistic and balanced way of living? Healthier in all realms of the psyche, the spirit, and the body. Here is your host and executive producer, Coach Steve Toth.
Welcome to the Mind, Body, and Soul Show, everybody, on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. It's actually noon here, and this is a special edition of the Mind, Body, and Soul Show. We are accommodating Fatima Star, who is our guest today, and she's joining us from a very far place on the planet called Australia, right?
Other end of the world for some people.
Yes. And it's, what time is it there now?
Well, it's 5 a.m. It's quite early.
Wow. Well, thank you for getting up this early to be on the network.
Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. So I'm sure that throughout your life, you've been called a lot of different names and titles. So if I took all those away, who is really Fatima Star? Or Fatima Beckett?
Well, I guess in a nutshell, I'm really someone who's been a seeker all of my life. You know, from the time I was about 9 years old. So at the time of this recording, we're talking about a 40-year journey, and I've really just wanted to understand those big questions, you know, why are we here? Why am I here? Do I have a purpose? What is the meaning of existence? And it has led me through so many different types of roads, and a huge journey, I suppose, through the mind, through the body, through the spirit, all of these different aspects of who we are, to understand ourselves on the deepest of levels. And particularly where I've arrived at is wanting to understand who we are on the levels of our souls, and what is scripted deep within us. And however the script got there, whether we're talking about conditioning from this lifetime or we're talking about past lives, we don't have to believe in past lives, but if we do, all these factors have a bearing on us. And to put them together, to understand them, enables us to see what we're doing with our energy. And my own life has been a project, and it's a working project and a work in progress for me to understand what I'm doing with energy at any one time, so that I move into greater levels of personal mastery as it relates to co-creation and conscious evolution. And that rounds me now into, in a nutshell, I would consider myself to be a metaphysical teacher and a work in progress at a very auspicious time on this planet. So how's that for in a nutshell?
Well, that's a short answer.
Yeah, to a 49-year journey.
Have you looked into becoming a politician at some point.
Well, actually,
Why am I not surprised?
long-winded, I hope. But
I actually forgot what was the question that I asked. No problem. No problem, Fatima. But what's interesting about what you were sharing is that you mentioned at the very beginning that you are a seeker, and I guess you may be still considering yourself being a seeker. Is that accurate?
The journey never ends, so there's always something amazing amidst everything that is also timeless.
I just wanted to share that with you because for me, the seeking has ended some time ago. I'm no longer a seeker. I actually moved into... Actually, the seeking part is level 2. I call it a level 2 activity in terms of what we do on our spiritual journey. Level 3 is mastery, and what I mean by that is I no longer look for shiny objects out there that are going to provide me the answers. I actually got to the point where I get that the answers are all within me, and they always have been. I just haven't been open and ready to go there, and I've been looking outside of myself. It ain't out there. So I thought that was very interesting. So, and you even mentioned, and of course we never had this conversation, but you also mentioned mastery. Isn't it interesting how tuned in you and I are?
Synchronous. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
there's no accident. I mean, this is how it is, not just for you and I, but for everyone that has awakened and on the journey of consciousness. We share a lot of things that are very common.
I think one of the great awarenesses that are that's coming to light, and definitely on a worldwide scale and amongst the people that I work with, is the level of that interconnectedness amongst us all, and also this great awakening, this great shift that has occurred, that is enabling us to really see more profoundly just how connected we are, and how many people are on this leading edge wave now of having been seeking, as you say, as we've been saying here, and now moving into those deepest levels of mastery, of co-creation, of resonance and oneness with one another, and with all of life, and seeking now to have those co-creative relationships that enable all action and thought to move into increased levels of harmony on personal levels, but beyond the personal and into the transpersonal, as well as universal understandings of working together, of journeying together, of exploring together, of creating together now what it is we would most like to experience in our lives, but not just from that personality-centric way of, I want 15 more cars and I want 10 men by the end of the week, and all these sorts of perhaps more survival-orientated creations. It's more, wow, if we're all connected and thought creates, and thought matters, and what I think and feel is affecting everything at any one time. Well, that's big, and what do I want to do with that?
Not just what we think and feel, but what we do.
Yeah.
And what we say.
Huge. Absolutely, absolutely. So it's a real cutting edge of conscious evolution.
Yeah. So I don't think I'm going to be able to get short answers from you.
I have a little hourglass, tiny thing here, that like a little egg timer. Okay, 30 seconds.
Okay.
Boom.
It's my job as a host to manage you. So let's explore what's happening right now in the world. And 12/12/12 is only a week away. People are freaking out. I mean, there's people talking about the world ending. I mean, there's all kinds of conversations going on out there. People are in fear. What the heck is happening? How is this relate to? How is this relate to mind, body, and soul, and what we're talking about? And how does all of this relate to consciousness?
All right.
How do people get through this time, the next few weeks?
Well, we're in that shift as we're talking about, and we're moving from one way of being, which has mainly been tied in with the left brain linear, 5% of us. If we can't see it, feel it, touch it, it doesn't exist. And there are other aspects of us that are opening from within ourselves that are going to assist us with greater abilities, intuition, creative faculties, to make our lives better. And because thought matters, emotion matters, frequency, what we do matters, and they are creative, everything that we have created up until this point with a limited 5% of ourselves, 3% of our DNA, 5% of our brains, everything we've created, whether we're talking careers, we're talking relationships, we're talking government, we're talking finances, everything that shows up in our world is also in the midst of a great shift, and it's breaking down. And we're breaking through.
Is it a mirror of who we are?
Everything's a mirror. Or
are we at the effect of what's going on out there?
To me, it's both. See, we're so much bigger than, you're in a studio in Denver, Colorado, and I'm here on the Gold Coast in Australia, and we look a certain way. We got 2 eyes, 2 hands, 2 feet, and so on. But we're an aspect of a much bigger part of us. And that bigger part of us has a bigger awareness and also has an effect on what shows up for us in our personal lives. And then there's us personally that also has the power of thought and has the power of emotion. How we get through is through timeless practices that help us to be in tune with ourselves, with our truth.
Can we stop there for a second?
Yeah.
I am managing Fatima right now. Okay. Let's stop there.
It's a big question. You were naughty. You gave me a big question and you want me down.
I always give you big questions. Let's stop at emotions. I feel that emotions and are largely our inability to handle our emotions is what's creating all this chaos. So let's spend a minute or two or maybe more on this. So I have learned for myself is that I am not my emotions, I'm not my feelings. Those are objects. And what I also noticed is when people are unable, and I call this the new self, and there has been many different names given. I mean, let's let's come up with a few. What are some of the names that were given, especially from religion? God self,
true self,
higher self, true
yeah.
self, spirit, you name it. There's been all kinds of names used. But a lot of people are confused about what that really means. So for me, the new self is really our ability to witness and observe this human body, mind, and spirit, so that we don't have to act on the feelings and emotions that's going through us. We get to pause and make a choice. Now, because most people have not gotten here yet or don't know how to do it, they become their emotions and their feelings. And that gets us into all kinds of trouble. What do you think about that?
Spot on. Because we're a mixture of so many different thoughts, emotions, feelings, reactions, and so on, however they got there. And we have not grown up in cultures that enable us to become conscious of them, masters of them, let alone to witness them. We end up being the slaves of our thoughts and emotions. We have no real techniques. As timeless as the techniques are, there's nothing that really is passed down to us in order to be able to cope, let alone master, make conscious choice, healthy choices in all the areas of our lives. So if we're in the midst of a shift that is shifting relationships, our health, our thoughts, our emotions, weather patterns, politics, in a huge tsunami of change, you really are like, what do they call it, like a ship without a rudder or a leaf in the wind. And the thing is, these strategies are extremely simple strategies that help you to take charge. But our thoughts and emotions are like runaway horses, and therefore we are.
So, Fatima, we are an interactive network. Sorry to interrupt you again, but I must do it. We are an interactive network, and we are being featured on Block TV right now. That means we are in the front page of a very large network. So let's make it worthwhile for all the viewers to get whatever they are able to or willing to get from this conversation. So I feel that you and I are really privileged that we get to have this conversation just a week before 12/12/12.
Sure.
I think this is a big deal. So let's see what you and I could talk about and offer up to the viewers in terms of what people can do in this 1 week to prepare for what may happen. And none of us really know what's going to happen, right? I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have intuition, and I do feel that the energy is changing. The energy's time has definitely have speeded up. Things are happening very quickly. A lot of things are breaking down. So how can we assist our viewers that are going to be, that are watching now or going to be watching and listening later? Because really there's only a week left. How can we prepare them?
Well, number one, whether we're talking about the 12th of December, so what is called the Triple 12, or shortly thereafter we're moving into the 21/12 and the 22/12. This is the most synchronous and amazing time to be talking. Number one, the world is not coming to an end. This is not about doomsday. This is not about Hollywood blockbuster movies where everything is going to be destroyed and the end of the world. What we are talking about is the end of living with fear, the end of living like you're out of control, and being able to be more in touch with who you really are and the love you want in your life, or the sense of worthiness and the confidence that enables you to be a better person, a better lover, a better wife, a better husband. And so what you can do, what I teach, and no doubt what also Steve is talking about and what he does in his own life, as I do, it's about getting quiet. One of the biggest things we can do, even just for 5 minutes in the morning, or 5 minutes at night, or 10 minutes, if you can manage 10 minutes, and to simply become conscious of your breathing, that you're breathing in and you're breathing out, just number one, as a way to calm your mind down, calm your emotions down, calm the energy in the body down, and start to get a feel for what you're telling yourself on a daily basis. I'm out of control, I can't do it, I'm never going to get anywhere. That's all a part of these programs and conditioning that is going out the window as part of this 1212, 2112, and you're not alone. There are millions of people all over the world gathering in their homes or in venues or in parks or just by themselves on all these special dates and into 2013 as well, that are tuning in to release, to forgive where they feel they've done wrong, how they've judged themselves, the anger they feel at their spouse or some teacher or some neighbor. It's important to forgive. It's important to release, to hand it over to the source or to the Holy Spirit or to the Buddha, whoever you believe in. Let it go, because it's not going to be helping you in 2013. Right now, it's about release of the old and being able to tune in, calm down, and bring in the new. And then you've got to take some steps. Amazing books out there, amazing movies. I've got amazing stuff that I offer on my website.
You just released a new book, right?
I have. It's a book called Adventures in Manifesting, and subtitle is Passion and Purpose. And I'm one of 32 authors. There's a couple of celebrity authors on there as well. Janet Atwood, who's in with the Passion Test, and Bob Doyle, who was in The Secret movie a number of years ago. And it's all about the practicalities of how you can take charge of your life, but from a very, it's not about jumping up and down on a mountain somewhere and saying, wow, I did it and nothing's ever going to be the same again. It's small baby steps of learning where your thoughts, where your emotions are taking you. And that's, if we're talking about the end of things, it's really just about the end of fear and the end of feeling unworthy and everything, every nightmare that creates in your life, and moving into understanding you are actually brilliant and magnificent and worthy and confident, but maybe nobody ever told you. And if we get that on more and more critical mass levels, me here in Australia, people in the United States, I'm going to be visiting the US in 2013, or people in Europe, together we can make these changes. And there are millions of people doing it. So these times coming in now, 1212, as Steve mentioned, these are times of celebration. Don't listen to anybody that's talking about doomsday, or Planet X, or aliens landing in the front yard and or on the White House lawn. They may come, at some stage. I don't know, but
let's put it into perspective. So where that stuff comes from, we were talking about earlier about, level 2, level 3 consciousness, but to me that comes from level 0, which are the zombies, and unfortunately 90% of our planet are still zombies. And what happens is that what you're hearing and experiencing and feeling is the unconsciousness. Unconscious people, and this is not a judgment, it's just what's so. Unconscious people are capable of doing and creating anything. There is no filter there to make a choice that what they do and say is for their and everybody's highest good. That doesn't exist. They're just doing things, speaking out of things, out of chaos. So when there's enough people gather and start this conversation, I mean, how many dates have we had before that was completely bogus? Yeah. So don't put the energy there. Put the energy where Fatima actually said that this may be the change is that it's time for the healing. It's time for not having our traumas from our early years to run our lives. It's time to heal and jump on evolution, and because human beings, as far as I can tell, we can create anything. How do I know this? Look at what the unconscious people are capable of creating. Anything. Nothing surprises me. Now, if we can be that creative within consciousness that we can actually create anything we want that's good for our higher self, our new self, and it is good for everybody else. So we do things in terms of doing good in the world versus doing all this other stuff. And I don't want to call it anything, because in essence, we're still talking about duality. Even this conversation is taking place in duality. We need to learn and evolve to get out of duality, because it's the two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
We have to be able to move on from there to the side of the coin when the real stuff happens. What do you think, Fatima?
Absolutely. Couple of things there is, in one sense, I want to just say, let's forget about the dates. Whether they are the 1111, the 1212, the God knows what. To me, what's important about those dates, and whether or not they are super dates that somebody has received as being the be-all and end-all, or the 21st of December being the end of the Mayan calendar because a whole bunch of people say so and have the scholastic backup of that. To me, the jury's out on those kinds of endings or one-time events that change everything. What changes is the fact that there's a whole lot of people that are congregating on those days around the world, or just within themselves in their own living room, tuning in, releasing what no longer works, and then using their thought and emotion, feeling, and so on as to the kind of world they would really like to see. And there's power in those times where millions are linked up at the same time around the world. That's a big, big key. Second, I absolutely agree. We need to move beyond us and them, good and evil, black and white, left side, right side of politics. It's a game that is a no-win game. It always means that you have to do everything you can possibly do to vanquish
the other side. Your recent elections there. I always track the U.S. elections, and some of the things that were going on there through the press and the things that these parties are having to do to get ahead are, I don't know, the same thing in Australian politics. It's archaic, it's draconian, and it's a level of consciousness.
It's not working.
It's not working.
Fatima,
and
it's not working. It's working for the people that are not conscious. It's completely congruent with that way of being. But it's not working in consciousness, because declaring war on each other or going against each other doesn't work. We already know that.
The crazy thing is that there's, and I felt like you're just like a breath away from saying, like, there is no them. When we actually understand, for instance, the science of this, that we're living in a field of energy, that everything, if you put everything under the most high-powered microscopes, electron microscopes, you're going to see that everything is energy and everything is connected, and that thought matters. So there's no out there. There's no them. There's a oneness field of energy. So if you're at the leading edge and you're really wanting to take charge, you have all of that supporting you, but you start to get much more awake to what you're doing at any one time with how you think and how you feel and how it impacts on everyone, and how you can be more conscious about where you want to go. And just being political, you asked that political thing earlier on. I was only saying to someone recently, and it's the case, I'm sure, in all political systems right now, but here in Australia, as well as everywhere else, the opposition party or the party in government could come up with the best solution to some kind of, environmental disaster or whatever it might be. And the party, the opposite party in opposition, would have to slam that idea or that strategy to shreds because they're the party in opposition. So how does that system help?
Yeah.
But how does it help you in your relationship when you're doing a big relationship?
Back to guest management. Okay, so I have to keep reminding you, because you love to talk. Not that that's a bad thing on a television show, but we need to have a dialogue. I have to keep reminding you that this show is about having a dialogue, not just between you and I, but between the viewers. So we have some stuff going on in the chat rooms. So I want to welcome Soul Reactivator in Block TV. He or she says, I don't believe the world will end in 2012. Then the next question is, if so, then why is the president talking about the physical cliff if the world is going to end? And he also says, or she, yes, stop geoengineering, whatever that means. All right, so do you want to respond to why the president is talking about the physical cliff right now?
I'm thinking that they must be talking about the fiscal cliff. That's what I'm picking up in in my reading. It's the world is not ending, but we are in the midst of great change. So we've also come up against things that are going on economically that are landing many countries in a state of disarray, a state of breakdown, and needing new strategies on economic levels, on governmental levels, and dealing with a fiscal cliff, dealing with financial policy is going to be a part of that. That is a part of the shift. How can we do it better? So it's not about the
Okay, so I actually have a different take. I'm gonna respectfully disagree with you. So So the president is talking about physical cliff because first we all gotta understand that the U.S. government is not conscious, nor is the president. If he was, and the government was conscious, they wouldn't be manifesting the stuff they're manifesting, would they?
Well, government is a manifestation of the mass consciousness of a country. So it's that's my opinion, and so therefore it's a manifestation of things that need to change, that are coming to a head, and it has to be addressed, as in Europe, as in all over the world.
Yeah. So where I have to disagree with that is this. Yes, I agree to some point that it's a manifestation of the entire nation. So what the government is mirroring to us is who we are being. And the unfortunate thing is that most of the United States is still standing by, watching this go down, and unwilling to do anything about it. Look what just happened. We just re-elected the president that created all this stuff in the last 4 years. You know, the massive financial mess that we're in. I wasn't surprised actually that we the nation re-elected the current president. Why? Because a large percentage of the voters are not conscious. And that's completely congruent. There's nothing wrong. What do you think?
I feel on that yeah, because it's all one, and because whatever level of consciousness we're all playing at, those are the results that show up in our day-to-day lives, and in our lives at large, in terms of politics, in terms of economics. So however we want to look at it, it still becomes the personal wake-up call, and we get, sometimes the only thing that is going to shift us as human beings is that the pain in our lives has got to get really, really big in order for us to take action. So at the end of the day, it's how much worse does anything have to get? How much worse, how much more unhappy, unhealthy, poor, whatever it might be, do we need to be in our lives before we decide to take charge and create other solutions? There's no point in throwing stones at a government or a religious head or our spouse or our teacher. We have to take charge, and what Steve and I believe are saying is how you're taking charge is by, you have to turn the spotlight on yourself. And if you have largely negative thought, if you have fear thought, if you have attacking thought, if you have thoughts about things being unfair, etc., that's a good place to start. But you have to take charge of that and move it into a higher level that is more beneficial to you. And this is a worldwide phenomenon. It's not just in the United States. This is going on everywhere. So that's my understanding of it.
Yes, absolutely, because it's connected to human being. It's not connected to just the U.S. This is a
everything's
a planetary
mirror.
Yeah, this is a planetary matter, and I completely agree with you that this is about personal responsibility, and
Yes.
I think we all about to learn it. If we haven't learned it by now, perhaps. I actually like the fact that a lot of people are concerned and talking about 12-12-12 and the end of the world and all that, because I find most human beings love to just live in their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And when we live in our comfort zone, there is no growth there. We got to reach out and go outside of our comfort zone to grow and evolve.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so the reason why I love it that this is in the forefront right now. Is because there's a lot of people tuned into this, and it has the opportunity to provide transformation for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's it. It is an opportunity. One of the other hats that I wear is I work a lot with what is going on astrologically, again, just as a mirror. And I can say to everybody listening, you don't have to be this full-on astrologer, but the astrological aspects that are here now, and Steve just mentioned personal responsibility, the next 2-3 years or so, the big theme is personal responsibility. So it's about what you're doing with your thoughts. It's where your focus is. It's where your emotions are. It's what you're doing with your life. And as you get in touch with that, then things outside change. But nothing changes just by wishing for it or just complaining. It's a start. We do need to notice that things are out of balance. I think the person that had written in before wanted to know about geoengineering, and I'm thinking they're talking about GMOs, like genetically modified engineering. Yeah. We need to understand things. We need to open up these dialogues and conversations about what is going on, but only you can take charge. And we're not taught that. We're taught to be victims. We are taught to blame. We're taught to give power away to authorities that then run our lives, and then we complain about what they're doing with it. The next few years are all about you becoming the authority in your life and moving beyond anger and fear and hate and duality and us and them into creating something much more peaceful to do with prosperity and abundance and flourishing relationships. That's the shift. That's what we're getting on board with now. And it's very exciting, but like a boil, all this old stuff has to come to the surface to be cleared, and there's a lot of stuff coming to the surface. You know?
Yes,
Thank
I
God,
certainly
otherwise
agree.
you don't know it's there.
And this new self that I've been talking about also, you know, has to do with your book, which is Passion and Purpose, because once people are awake and conscious, I feel that it's almost a natural unfolding. Until you get to that place, you're really not concerned. You're not operating in clarity. You're operating in chaos and confusion. So once we're awake and conscious, it automatically, we go through this unfolding that it becomes very clear why we came here, like why we were born on this planet, what our purpose is, and we get connected to what we're passionate about. We actually start doing it and make our living from that place, which is completely different from just to go to work to make a living. It's very different.
Yeah. It moves us beyond just surviving to make ends meet, or even if you're doing it at a big level, bottom line is, are you happy? And generally in this older system that is crashing and burning in a big way, a lot of things have just been done because we have to do them, and as you've been saying, Steve, it's from a level of being unconscious. It's not active personal responsibility or feeling into what am I talented in, what would I like to experience, who would I like to experience it with. We're like these leaves in the wind, and then we're in the middle of it all, everything, just wondering what does it all mean? What am I doing here? And a lot of people are asking those kinds of questions. What does all this mean? What's it telling me? And it's telling you you have power, you have greatness, make other choices. It's a big choice time right now, and it's hard. It's challenging because we've not. I keep coming back to this. We just have not been taught. We're taught how to shop. You know? We're
Real
taught how
well.
to watch TV.
We all have mastery.
Yeah, mastery of shopping.
And how to watch television. We mastered it. How to sit on the couch for 4 hours every evening. We have a PhD in that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fabulous. Yeah. But it's where's the PhD on and just with gentle steps, we are also being, there's a fire at our backsides, it's like the tide of change is here. It's sweeping through everything. And so I believe we're actually being helped as challenging and as frightening as a lot of this change can be. If you've worked hard all your life and you've saved and you've been putting your money into a house, whatever you've been doing, and if you're suddenly not, if you don't have a job anymore, or if some other, bigger picture thing happens like the global financial crisis in 2008, that is hugely disturbing, it's terrifying, it's challenging. But what I want to say, and I know we're on the same page here, Steve, is that is really, it's the catalyst for you. It becomes a blessing in disguise, because it's about, how do I make these changes? What do I really want to do? Was I really happy, trying to manage all that stuff anyway? These are big questions, and they're unique to each life circumstance. But the people that are really awake to this, and it might be 3 or 4 or 5 million of us around the planet, it's a $70 billion personal and spiritual development industry. That's a lot of people asking these questions and wanting to take charge. So people are not alone, but they can feel alone, because when they turn on the TV, it's just crap.
So I think we all we all need to figure out also what our responsibility is in terms of the evolution of humanity. That's a much bigger picture than just worry about ourselves. I think people need to stop worrying about security and money and to survive, because if anybody looks, we all know how to survive. I mean, people go through 70 years, 80 years surviving moment to moment, day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. We know how to do it. Stop worrying about it. That ain't it.
Yeah.
Right? And I think, well, we also have some input here from Solar Reactivator. Says, right, I cut the puppet strings for me 3 years ago. Whatever the puppet strings means, I think it might mean coming out of the zombie era.
Yes, the zombie era.
into awakening. And it's not a judgment, because I used to be a zombie. I still remember it. I can't go back to it, but I remember being a zombie. I didn't even think that there was anything wrong. All right, hang on. Let's talk about something really important, because this is up for a lot of people. So you mentioned millions of people that are awake and conscious, and the challenge that presents is that, how do we live moment to moment, day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, on a planet right now that's mostly unconscious? That's a huge challenge for most people. What do you have to say about that?
It's going to come, I think the theme for us here today is really, it's going to be tied back into personal responsibility. And for me, that's to do with our personal space, what we're doing with thought, what we're doing with emotion, and coming to a place beyond, me here being, like I'm so enlightened and I'm on the leading edge, and you out there are all asleep, and we need we need to move beyond that to kind of go, we're all on one planet, 7 billion people, 7 billion different experiences, and the only one that I can really be responsible for is my own experience. And if I'm more awake, more aware, more in a space of acceptance, of love, neutrality, non-judgment, and I am being that, well, as I be that, that is also creating an effect in the world at large. But if I'm going to think about how asleep people are, and I don't like this and I don't like that, then that's going to compromise the integrity of what I believe around oneness and harmony from within. I need to establish that first. And then if I am called into service through being a fabulous gardener, being a fabulous cook, being a teacher, being a healer, moving into government, moving into economic think tanks, where I can bring this level of consciousness into all the areas of our lives, uniquely for each person, or even just being a better neighbor. We don't all have to get on a big stage. We can just be a better neighbor. Well, we're just in a time frame, and it's come and gone before, where we've had breakdowns in civilizations, breakdowns in ways of being, and new ones coming in. We're the people in the middle of that shift. So we can't fix it all in one day, but at the same time.
No. I'm not saying to fix it
it's
all
about
in one
all
day, and I'm not saying that we're judging the ones that are unconscious, and I'm not saying that we're on a pedestal looking down, or we're on the top of the mountain and talking down to them. That's not what I'm talking about. I feel that we're all connected. Even I'm connected with the zombies. What I'm talking about is the reality is that right now the majority of humanity is unconscious. Can we agree on that? This is not a judgment. It's just what's so.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are asleep. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have to live in this world. I mean, as soon as I go outside, I mean, I even have to live in it here. I mean, you don't see this because I protect you, and I protect all of my hosts on this network from all this garbage. But we are in a number of networks, and we are in chat rooms. And if I showed you what's coming through those chat rooms and what's being said, I don't know if you would be surprised, but it wouldn't elevate this conversation.
Sure.
So all I'm saying to you is we don't have the option of creating a separate world for us where we can have utopia and only the awakened conscious can live there. We don't have that.
Right.
We have a planet. We all scattered.
Yeah.
But the challenge is, how do we live in this world? And when we're interacting with people that are not conscious, who are we being? What are we doing? And how are we responding? That's what I wanted to talk about, because it's real.
It is real, and that's, to me, again, that's going to lift up that game of personal responsibility. It's going to come back to, are you capable, am I capable of walking my talk when it comes to maintaining elevated thought and consciousness in the midst of of challenge, in the midst of anger, in the midst of hate, in the midst of ignorance, in the midst of breakdowns, that's the shift. That's the choice. That's the challenge.
Yes,
so
I agree. So
it becomes your personal work in progress.
I'm going to bring an example from religion. Do you know this saying that goes like this: turn the other cheek?
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of people are good at doing that? And what does it really mean?
Well, that's a huge mastery question, and depending on the level of I'm not kidding, because on the level of your consciousness, there's a different answer to that. So for me, if I'm talking about turning the other cheek, it's about understanding where people are at any one time. So they're telling me I'm an idiot, they're telling me I'm fabulous, they're telling me it's all my fault, or I don't know better, whatever it is that they're telling me. My turning the other cheek, what that means to me is about, I'm going to come into an acceptance of what was said. I'm not going to take it personally. I might be learning something from it, but it's still going to come down to me and who I'm going to choose to be in this world. Am I going to lead with acceptance, with forgiveness, with neutrality, with love, or am I going to sink into the negativity and an eye for an eye and, competition and all the rest of it? The shift is moving out of all of that, and I need to be the master of myself in order to maintain that. So turning the other cheek is moving beyond, for me anyway, it's moving beyond reactivity and needing to defend myself with all the old survival tools that are just really outdated, and it creates a state of continual warfare within me and within my relationships and then within the world at large. So it's coming down to what I am in the moment.
Fantastic answer, Fatima. You are one heck of a human being.
I hope I didn't talk too much. Oh dear. But I really enjoyed our time. Thank you.
I just shared I just shared my truth with you. That's what was so for me. And it would be wonderful if I know you're going to be traveling a lot around the U.S. in the next few months.
Yes.
If you could stop by in Denver, that would be fantastic. I would love to have you on the Living Consciously TV show in real life in the studio and have a similar dialogue, because I think who you are being is definitely something that I can relate to and our entire cast can relate to, and we can have a dialogue about similar subject that we're talking about today, and maybe going much deeper than we have been able to. But imagine that the hour is up, and for me, this was 2 minutes. How was it for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was just like in a blink of an eye.
Yes, and that's the proof that when we are connected to ourselves and connected to each other, and we are in the present time, in the now, time does not exist. It disappears.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
You've been absolutely fantastic. Thank you for being on the network. I'd like you to mention your website and maybe even your book or whatever else you want to mention, so that when people connect with you, they are able to go to your website or even work with you if they like.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. My website is www.fatimabacot.com. So it's FATIMABACOT.com. And yes, I have my book there, Adventures in Manifesting, Passion and Purpose. And it's being sold at the moment for $27.95. And if you buy it now, you can get 7 MP3 instantly downloadable recordings that help you with releasing sabotage and to activate your DNA, move into greater relationships, wealth, and health. And the value of that is over $100. So you can go to my website and get the book today. It'll be mailed out from the U.S., my distribution center in Indiana. I also do personal readings. So I can go into your energy fields, into your thoughts, your emotions, and really help you to get right down into where the distortion is, where the fear is, the worry and the panic, and help you with some strategies to help you to cross the bridge from the old into the new. And of course, I'll be on tour in 2013, and I run around all over the United States. And if you want me to come to your town and you think you can get some people together, send me an email on admin@fatimabeycott.com, and let's see what we can create together. My specialty is helping people to clarify who they are, where they need to just release the old, and let's get into some strategies for where you really want to be, what you really want to create in your life. I have MP3s, I've got CDs, teleseminars, I've done a lot of things. So please visit the website, join the newsletter.
Excellent. Thank you, Fatima. And of course, my preference is for you to be here live in our cable TV studio in Denver. But if you can't make it, I certainly would love to have you even just on Skype on our Living Consciously TV show. So I just want to make sure I extend that invitation to you.
So I was in Colorado last year and I loved it. So yeah. I'm to return.
Yeah. So thank you very much. You've been a absolute joy.
And likewise. Thank you so much. It's been a great honor.
Thank you. All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow again on the Mind, Body, and Soul show at 2 o'clock Mountain, 4 o'clock Eastern, and of course 1 o'clock Pacific. Until then, have a wonderful time and do something good in the world. Yeah. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Today's
Bye-bye.
podcast is brought to you by ObesityHotline.com, the silent killer, providing support and encouragement in the prevention of this rising epidemic. Featuring the Body by Vi Challenge. Is there a quick answer to the question? Go to www.obesityhotline.com. You're listening to Real Coaching Radio TV, building a positive network.